Football remembers its kings. Eusebio, first black Ballon d'Or winner in 65. Gullit brought the crown to Holland in 87. Viv Anderson broke England's colour line in 78. Their names made histories, their stories were told. But one man played for Manchester United before any of them hit the spotlight. The first black player to wear a United shirt. And yet, his name vanished. Not from injury, not from failure. So how does a man make history and still disappear from it? This is the story of how Dennis Walker changed football and why history tried to erase him. Dennis Walker broke barriers at a time when just being black meant facing abuse from the stands and silence from the system. Yet while others were celebrated, Dennis Walker was quietly forgotten. Why? It's 1948. A 4-year-old boy named Dennis Walker is growing up in post-war England, cared for by his white Irish Catholic mother in a land already bruised by conflict and division, and that was hard enough. But for young Dennis, life would only get more complicated because the truth was, he never really knew who he was. His mother told him his father had died at sea, but the stories never added up. He believed he was Argentinian, then Iranian, but in time Dennis would come to understand what England saw when they looked at him. Not his speed, not his skill, not his soul, but his skin. Woolly hair, brown skin, that was enough. By the early 1950s, England was changing violently. As more black immigrants arrived from the colonies she once ruled, the mask of civility fell off. In Nottingham and Notting Hill, white gangs roamed the streets fueled by fear, fascist rhetoric and rage. Petrol bombs, beating, 400 white men attacking black homes in West London. Then in 1959, Keslow Cochrane, a young Antiguan carpenter, was murdered by a white gang while walking home. No charges, no justice. His blood soaked the Notting Hill pavement and the headlines moved on. So imagine what it meant in that world for a young black boy, half Iranian, half Irish, unknown to himself, to be scouted by the biggest football club in the country, Manchester United. This wasn't just a club, this was the club. The home of Duncan Edwards, Bobby Charlton and the ghosts of the Munich air disaster. Every kid dreamed of being a Busby Babe, and now Dennis Walker was one of them. Fast, skillful, electric on the wing. By 15 he was already making headlines in schoolboy circuits. The England under-15s were calling, but Walker had other dreams, Old Trafford dreams, and so he signed. The first black Busby Babe, and that title came with weight, because while talent got him through the gates, it wouldn't guarantee him a future. The first team was a fortress guarded by giants, Dennis Law, Bobby Charlton, and waiting in the wings, a teenager from Belfast called George Best. Even in the rarest moment of opportunity, the odds were stacked high. In the 1962-63 season, only one other black player made a top-flight appearance, John Charles of West Ham, just 16 days before Dennis would get his chance. But beyond competition, there were deeper obstacles. Racism in the dressing room. It's been said that even Sir Matt Busby, the club's legendary manager, once accused Walker of theft, not because of any evidence, but because he was black. That kind of stigma, it sticks. It follows you in silence. And Dennis, he kept his head down. Let his play speak for him. But how loud could a black boy speak in a world that never wanted to listen? He had no father, no blueprint, just a dream, a pair of boots, and the belief that maybe he could make history. And he did. But not the kind they write statutes about. Dennis Walker was about to walk into a watershed moment, one that would shake Manchester United and English football forever. You'd think after all that, the club would at least put his name in the history books, right? Not quite. For decades, Manchester United never publicly acknowledged who their first black player actually was. So what happened? Well, people guessed, and for years, a lot of folks just assumed it was Tony Whelan. Now, Whelan was a talented youth player in the 70s, and he's had a long respected career in the game. But here's the thing, he never made a first team appearance, not one. Still, the myth stuck, and Whelan, he wasn't having it. A lot of people think it was me, he said. I feel embarrassed because it's not right for the Walker family, who should be very proud. People don't know his name, which staggers me in the light of how high profile race issues are now. So why did they forget Dennis? Why did his name fade while others were remembered? Maybe it was more comfortable to stay quiet, easier to move on than to face what his story revealed. Dennis Walker's story is more than just a footnote in football history. It's the story of a young boy caught between worlds, fighting for a place in a game and in a country that wasn't ready to see his worth. A story of being first and being forgotten, but it's also a story of quiet resistance, of showing up, competing, persisting. Long before hashtags, protests, or anti-racism banners, Dennis Walker lived the fight. And even if the stands didn't chant his name, and the history books left him behind, his legacy still echoes. But he wasn't alone in carving out space. Rio Ferdinand, another black footballer from South London, would go on to take that same shirt and become a modern legend. Watch the video above to learn how Rio overcame fear, doubt, and history to change the game on his own terms.